9.2%. That is how much one small Canadian city's population fell in just 5 years. According to Statistics Canada's own census data, the worst drop recorded for any small urban center in the entire country. These are the 10 Canadian towns already dying in 2026. And if you own property in one of them, or you are thinking about buying into one, you need to know this right now. Before you make a decision, the numbers already argue against. If you own property in any of these places, or you are weighing a move to one, the next 16 minutes could save you from a decision the data does not support. Number 10, Sept-Îles, Quebec. Sept-Îles sits on Quebec's North Shore, and for 70 years, its economy has run on one thing: the port that ships iron ore out of the Labrador Trough. The Iron Ore Company of Canada built this town's tax base, and when the global iron ore market cracked in 2014, the ripple hit here too. Cliffs Natural Resources idled its Pointe Noire pellet plant in Sept-Îles the same year it shut down Wabush Mines across the border in Labrador. And the region has never fully recovered the jobs that left with it. Statistics Canada's 2021 census puts Sept-Îles' population decline at 2.8% over 5 years, tied for the 10th steepest drop of any small urban center in the country. That means fewer buyers competing for the same housing stock, and a local economy that still rises and falls with a commodity price set in Beijing and Rotterdam, not in Quebec. Property here is cheap. Whether cheap becomes a bargain depends entirely on where the next iron ore cycle lands. And shipping port towns like this one do not get to control that cycle, they can only wait it out. The next town on this list shows what happens when an entire regional industry, not just one plant, goes the same direction. Number 9, Dolbeau-Mistassini, Quebec. This Lac-Saint-Jean town markets itself as the blueberry capital of the world, and the blueberry industry is a genuine bright spot in an otherwise difficult local economy. But the tax base here was built on forestry, sawmills, and pulp lines, feeding a global newsprint market that has been shrinking for 2 decades. As paper demand fell, so did shifts at the mills. And so did the reasons for a young worker to stay instead of driving south to Quebec City or Saguenay for the same job at a higher wage. Statistics Canada's 2021 census places Dolbeau-Mistassini's population decline at 2.8% over 5 years, tied with Sept-Îles for the 10th steepest drop among Canada's small urban centers. The town center still functions. The arena is still full on a Friday night, and by most visible measures, this looks like a stable place. The problem is structural, not seasonal. Fewer working-age residents means fewer buyers, and a housing market that depends on retirees and remote workers moving in faster than the mill towns are losing people. So far, in the data Statistics Canada has actually published, that has not happened. Number 8, Sainte-Marie, Quebec. Sainte-Marie sits in the Beauce region south of Quebec City, an area built on small and mid-sized manufacturers, furniture, food processing, plastics. The Beauce has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the province, which sounds like good news until you ask why the population is still shrinking anyway. The answer is wages. Quebec City and its suburbs pay more for the same skilled labor. And the highway makes the commute easy enough that families relocate instead of commuting the distance every single day for years. Statistics Canada's 2021 census shows Sainte-Marie's population down 3.2% over 5 years. That means a local economy with genuinely low unemployment and a housing market that still cannot hold on to its own. Residents a combination that should worry anyone using job numbers alone to predict where property values go next. Low unemployment tells you a town has work available right now. It does not tell you a town has a future its own young people actually want to stay for. Number 7, North Battleford, Saskatchewan. North Battleford has long served as the retail and hospital hub for the farms and small towns around it. That role is what is now quietly being taken away. As highways improved and online retail expanded, agricultural spending that used to stop in North Battleford started driving straight through to Saskatoon, 90 minutes south, or moving online entirely, skipping the local storefront altogether. Statistics Canada's 2021 census recorded a 3.4% population decline here over 5 years, one of the 10 steepest drops of any small urban center in Canada. The hospital and the school divisions remain, propping up a floor under the local economy that pure retail towns further from a city do not have. But a floor is not the same as growth. And a service hub that is quietly being bypassed by the very highway traffic it depends on is not a town in transition. It is a town in retreat, and the next entry proves that even a diversified industrial base does not automatically protect a town from the same math playing out. Number 6. Baie-Comeau, Quebec. Baie-Comeau was purpose-built around two industrial anchors, an aluminum smelter and a paper mill, and both are still running today, both employing far fewer people than they did a generation ago, as automation and corporate consolidation squeeze the workforce needed to run them. When a town is built around two employers, instead of a genuinely diversified economy, every efficiency gain at either plant becomes a population loss for the town as a whole. Even in years when both plants report their production is up, Statistics Canada's 2021 census shows Baie-Comeau's population down 3.8% over 5 years. That means the smelter and the mill can report record output, and the town can still be shrinking at the exact same time. Production and population have stopped moving together here, and property values are tracking the second number, not the first, no matter what the quarterly earnings call says about the plants themselves. Number 5. Brook, Newfoundland and Labrador. Brook is the second largest city in the province, and for over a century, its economy has centered on one pulp and paper mill. Global newsprint demand has been falling for 20 straight years, as digital publishing replaced print, and every round of downsizing at that mill removes some of the highest-paying jobs left on the west coast of the island. Statistics Canada's 2021 census recorded a 3.9% population decline in Brook over 5 years. That means the regional hospital, the university campus, and the retail base that all depend on Milltown wages are being asked to hold up an economy with a shrinking foundation underneath it. And none of those institutions can single-handedly replace what one large employer used to provide. Brook is not disappearing, but a service hub built on top of a single declining industry is not a stable floor for property values. It is a countdown with the timer set by the price of newsprint, in a market that has been shrinking since before some of its own residents were born. Every town on this list so far has one thing in common, and it is worth stopping the countdown for 30 seconds before this list gets worse. Sept-Îles, Dolbeau-Mistassini, Sainte-Marie, North Battleford, Baie-Comeau, and Brook were not built as diversified economies. Each one was built around a single employer or a single export: iron ore, forestry, one region's factories, a hospital catchment, a smelter, a mill. And each one is now finding out what happens when that employer needs fewer people to produce the same output it always has. That is not really a housing story on its own. It is an employment story that shows up in housing data about 5 years later, once the people who would have bought the houses have already left. The 4 towns still to come lost people even faster than any of the 6 you just heard, and the number 1 town on this list posted the single worst population decline recorded anywhere in Statistics Canada's small urban center data. If the towns so far felt like a warning, keep watching, because the pattern only gets clearer and more expensive from here. Number 4. Thompson, Manitoba. Thompson was built in 1956 by the International Nickel Company for one purpose: mining, smelting, and refining nickel in a single location, all in one place, all under one payroll. All or nothing. That model ended in 2018, when Vail shut down the smelter and the refinery and kept only the mine and the mill running. The jobs that remained pay less and need fewer people than the ones that disappeared with the smelter. Statistics Canada's 2021 census shows Thompson's population down 4.7% over 5 years. And the city sits far enough north that there is no larger center nearby to absorb commuters or prop up demand from outside the region. That means the buyer pool for Thompson property is almost entirely local, and the local population is the exact thing that is shrinking. When your only real source of housing demand is the same population that is leaving, the math simply does not support the idea that prices have already found a bottom. Number 3. Dawson Creek, British Columbia. Dawson Creek calls itself Mile Zero of the Alaska Highway, but its real economy runs on natural gas, specifically the Montney shale play that spreads across northeastern British Columbia. Gas prices are volatile by nature, and Dawson Creek's population rises and falls with the regional drilling rig count almost in real time, the way a coastal town rises and falls with the tide twice a day. Statistics Canada's 2021 census recorded a 5.4% population decline here over 5 years, one of the steepest drops of any small urban center in the entire country. That means a housing market built for boom year staffing levels, that boom years are no longer reliably delivering, year after year. Liquefied natural gas export projects on the coast have promised renewed drilling demand for years now. Some of that demand has shown up. Most of it has not arrived on the timeline the projections originally promised, and Dawson Creek's population count is the more honest indicator of the two. Number 2, Estevan, Saskatchewan. Estevan calls itself the Energy City, and for decades that meant coal. 2 Sask Power coal-fired stations and the mines that feed them sit just outside town. In 2016, the federal government set 2030 as the deadline to phase out conventional coal power nationwide. And for the better part of a decade, Estevan lived under that deadline without knowing what would replace those jobs if it actually held. Statistics Canada's 2021 census, taken squarely inside that period of uncertainty, recorded a 6% population decline in Estevan over 5 years, the second steepest drop of any small urban center in Canada. Here is what that number could not have shown at the time it was collected. In 2025, the Saskatchewan government reversed course and announced it will extend the coal plant's lives well past 2030, betting on a bridge to small modular nuclear reactors sometime in the 2030s. That may slow the bleeding going forward. It does not undo the 5 years already sitting inside this number. And it does not resolve what happens to Estevan if the province's coal bet does not pay off the way the government is currently promising it will. Number 1. Campbellton, New Brunswick, and Quebec. Campbellton sits on the Restigouche River, exactly where New Brunswick meets Quebec, and its economy used to run on 2 chemical plants and 1 Abitibi-Bowater paper mill. All 3 closed within a few years of each other, and the surrounding region lost roughly 11% of its population in a single census period as a direct result. Statistics Canada's 2021 census puts the wider Campbellton census agglomeration's 5-year decline at 9.2%. The single worst population drop of any small urban center recorded anywhere in the country. Here is the honest complication, because this channel does not hide the parts of the data that complicate the story. The city of Campbellton itself, the core municipality, actually added a couple hundred residents by 2021. Its first real growth since the 1960s, largely pandemic-era remote workers drawn in by the river and the price of a house. That means the real story here is not simple collapse. It is a hollowing out at the region's edges, while a small core stabilizes. And if you own property in Campbellton, which side of that line your address falls on now matters more than almost anything else about the house itself. The chemical plants in the mill are not coming back. Whether the remote work migration that saved the core can spread outward before the wider region's decline hits 10% is the only question that actually matters here. 10 towns. Every number in this video came from Statistics Canada's own census data, not a listing agent's pitch and not a guess. A few of these places are stabilizing at the edges, mostly in their downtown cores. None of them have reversed the underlying trend that put them on this list in the first place. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 10 towns you have actually driven through. I read every single one. Subscribe, because I cover Canadian housing data every week. And the next list flips this one over completely and shows you exactly where that lost population is actually going instead. We will see you in the next one.